I would be astonished if he has read anything about Savarkar, that he was part of the freedom struggle.
Title Veer comes to him partially because of that he committed an act of bravery by running away, by swimming through a violently stormy weather through the ocean and then ran away.
Of course, this is a complete fabrication started by him himself. Within 2 months of his incarceration, he pleads for mercy. But that I will serve you in any capacity that you want. Shameful sentences. They had by them then become the favorites of the jailers. But you see, nobody reads in India. And certainly you don't expect the Prime Minister's office to read. Gandhiji writes to Hitler also, my dear friend. He calls Gandhiji a walking plague. He says he's a madman. Savarkar shall be the leader, not the leader controller. The word that Justice Kapoor has used is the Führer. The day they are to leave for Delhi to assassinate Gandhiji, they go and meet Savarkar in Savarkar Southern. The project to erase Gandhiji.
Okay.
Anybody who spits at Gandhiji is a hero today. The Hindu Mahasabha by this time is now completely in bed with the British. Far from fighting the British and helping the Indian National Army, he is actually completely helping the British. All these things have just been wiped out, just been scrubbed away.
Hello and welcome to the Federal. You're watching Off the Beaten Track, a program in which we take a slightly in-depth look at one issue. Now, let me start with the recent visit of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi to France. During that visit, along with the French President Emmanuel Macron, he went to Marseille, where he did various things. He went there and inaugurated the a war cemetery, where the Indian soldiers who died in the First World War, a memorial for them is there. So it was inaugurated. He went there. Mr. Modi, while in Marseille, he tweeted that India's quest for freedom, this city holds special significance. It was here that the great Veer Savarkar attempted a courageous escape. The bravery of Veer Savarkar continues to inspire generations. We can spend several hours going through various websites and books and other publicity material of the government of India to find a similar kind of statements being made. In fact, the government has even petitioned the French government to have a statue for Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, as his full name is, in Marseille. Now, the reason why I told you this is that because Savarkar is very much the subject of our discussion. I have with me Mr. Arun Shourie, former editor, one of the best and the finest public intellectuals of this country, somebody who's also been a union minister. Welcome to this program, Mr. Arun Shourie. It's really lovely to speak with you. The reason why we are there for this, I need to congratulate you also, is that you have done this very fine and exhaustive book, The New Icon, Savarkar and the Facts, which means what I was saying all this while that Mr. Modi tweeted this. These are the various statements which have been made by other government sources. They are not actually factual.
Yes,
Now,
I think Mr. Modi does not write his tweets. Secondly,
no Prime Minister.
secondly, second is that I would be astonished if he has read anything about Savarkar. What happens in these shakas and all is they just somebody has repeated something, oh Veer, oh, Swatantra Veer, and so on, and they internalize that, and that is
Right.
repeated. And he has gone to a town, so some speech writer is to look up what are the things he can say about the town, linking it to India. Okay, so Savarkar is one person, that some link, and then you compound the you compound the foolishness by saying,
Mhm.
okay, now put up a statue. And when the statue is put up, people will examine who was this person. Then the facts will come out. But that is how governments work, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
in this case, even in India, this business of going on eulogizing him is for several reasons, Nilanjan.
Hmm.
One is that this whole segment of our population or of the political spectrum does not have many heroes. They
Right.
can't have Subhash Chandra Bose as a hero because he was such a secularist. They can't,
Right.
of course, have Gandhiji as a hero because he's a repudiation of everything they stand for. They
Mhm.
can't naturally have Sardar Patel or Panditji or anybody. They
Let
can't.
me just interrupt on this point, but they have tried to appropriate these. You talked about Sardar Patel. The world's largest statue is there
Ah,
in Gujarat
but that
on the
is
bank
that
of
is
Ganga.
hardly. But that is a way of not appropriating him, appropriating that statue, and going on saying this is the biggest statue. You're not
Right.
living by Sardar Patel's simplicity, by his thoroughness,
Okay.
by his devotion to Gandhiji. You can't
But they
have
are
Bhagat Singh. No, no,
very
just
much part of this political system symbolism. You have the
yes,
spectacle
just
and the
that.
crown of Gandhiji.
And therefore, Nilanjan, that is the way, that's a very good way to put it, that they are now searching for symbols. And the one symbol, okay, Savarkar also is another statue.
Right.
Maybe it will be the second largest in the world.
Well,
So
the French
it
have
is
to build
meaningless. So, firstly, they don't have heroes. Secondly, they cannot associate with anybody in the freedom struggle because they were not a part of the freedom struggle.
That's right.
So, here is somebody you just mythically say that he was part of the freedom struggle. Now,
Okay.
the escape, sorry,
No, I just wanted to say that for the benefit of our viewers, the popular impression is that in 1910, Savarkar was arrested in London and he was being brought by a British ship to India to be tried on a criminal case which was filed against him for an incident which had happened in Nasik, for which Savarkar, among other accusations, was that he had supplied weapons for that incident. Anyway, he was being brought in the
for that
ship,
murder.
murder. For that story is that while the ship was docked in Marseille, he jumped out of the he rather sneaked out of the ship and swam through the oceans amid a violent storm which was blowing across that entire region, and that very bravely he arrived on the shores and he started running. Eventually he was caught. That is the popular belief, that the title wheel comes to him partially because of that he committed an act of bravery by running away, by swimming through a violently stormy weather through the ocean, and then ran away. What did you find as the fact which is there very much part of your book?
Yes, of course, this is a complete fabrication started by him himself under a pen name called Chitragupt. You
That's
see,
right.
what happened was like this. You are right. He had been arrested in England because of the supposed complicity in the murder of a man called AMT Jackson,
That's right.
who was an official in Nasik. Now, the, he is being brought back by this ship. On this ship, two policemen and two officers have been sent from Bombay to escort him back. Early in the morning, around 6:15, he says he needs to use the toilet. So
Hmm.
they'll take him to the toilet, and from the porthole of the toilet, he jumps out.
Right.
Now, this was a steamship. I've looked at the records of the ship. They are accessible. It was a steamship. It was docked, as you said, in the port. The distance between and you see, when the steamship is there, and you, it is docked there for what is called coaling. That means
Hmm.
koila has to be put
Oil has to
into
be
the ship.
put in, yes.
Now, that is not sent in small boats far into the sea so as to be put into the ship. It is there. So the ship has been brought to the dock, and the
Hmm.
difference, the distance between the dock and the ship is 10 to 12 feet. There is no stormy sea, there is no wave, nothing. It is standing there.
Hmm.
And he jumps. Jumping was a important act. He jumps, he swims ashore, he crosses those 10 or 12 feet, and he starts running. And within about 100 yards, a French policeman who's standing there, you see, people are shouting from the ship, "Arey, catch him, catch him." That
Hmm.
fellow thinks that it is some thief or somebody who's done something wrong. So he holds him, and the two policemen who had been sent to guard him, they run down the plank, the gangway. They
Right.
join in the chase, they also, and they escort him back. Now,
Right.
if Savarkar battled the stormy waves, those two policemen would have tried to battle them.
I had
Nobody
to
has
make.
said even till nobody has said that even their knickers were uh, uh, wet. Nobody. And the facts of this, you see, what happened was the British were very upset with those policemen and those officers that we sent you to guard him. What did you? How did this happen? So they immediately had an inquiry, and
Hmm.
the report of that inquiry is published by the government of Bombay in 1956 in a collection called
Hmm.
Documents Relating to the Freedom Struggle of India. You see,
Right.
by the mid 50s, the government of India had told all state governments collect the documents that relate to the freedom struggle.
Hmm.
And that's how that little report was published. It had been prepared in 1911, 1910.
Right.
But you see, nobody reads in India. And certainly you don't expect the Prime Minister's office to read. So it is ridiculous. But
Right.
as you rightly say, the title for Veer and all comes from that fabricated episode.
Veer comes from there. There is another instance, where actually this Veer title, which is conferred on Savarkar, can be challenged. He comes to India, he's brought to India, the trial is there, and then he's jailed. He's sent to the cellular jail in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, where he lives, where he spends about 10 years of his life. Now, this 10 years of his life in the cellular jail is very conspicuous by a series of letters seeking pardon from the British. Once again, an instance, if these letters
Yes,
were actually written by him, where does his bravery go? Can you tell us about the
that is
letters, what he wrote?
one part of it. And by now it is well known. You see,
Yes.
within 2 months of his incarceration, he pleads for mercy, and he
Right.
writes an abject letter. But it's not just that. He continues to write every year, and in total, about 7 times he writes these letters for mercy, for being let out. And in those, he says, not only that I am sorry, not only that I have changed, but that I will serve you in any capacity that you want. And only you, the mighty, can be merciful. And a prodigal son like me is coming back to you. I mean, shameful sentences. But that is just one part of it.
Hmm.
Letters were written for his mercy, for mercy being by his younger brother, who was not incarcerated, by his in the name of his wife, in the name of his sister-in-law, and so on. So it was a continuous thing that was going on. But this is just one part of, people are focusing only on these letters for mercy. They are
Right.
shameful. They contrast with Bhagat Singh, the real Veer. He wrote to the governor of Punjab when he's incarcerated, when he's to
Hmm.
be hanged. He said, no, 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 no. You see, the way your advocate argued in the court, and what the court has said, we are at war. You have found us guilty to be at war with your empire.
Right.
and with the king emperor.
Hmm.
So, as prisoners of war, we have the right to be shot. So, please send a detachment of your army to shoot us. Don't hang us. That is his petition.
Right. So there's a
So,
complete contrast.
and and after all, Savarkar was not the only person in the jail. There were hundreds of others.
Right.
They were hanged. They committed suicide. They did not sign such petitions. And for 1.5 years of those, Savarkar was in the hospital, so called. Not
Okay.
only that, not only that, um, a person of whom you would have heard, Trailokyanath Chakravarti, a very famous Bengal revolutionary, he has written a memoir of his period. He was subjected to all the punishments, the terrible punishments of the jail.
Right.
His memoir is a very important memoir. In that, he says that Savarkar and his brother encouraged us, so to say, to go on a strike for improvement of the work of the
Jail
condition of
facility.
prison. But when the time came, they did not join the strike. Now, Savarkar is at great pains to give all sorts of explanations why they did not join the strike. But the fact of the matter is that those reasons would apply to anybody, not just to him as to why they couldn't. But Lokanath says that they did not join the strike because they had by them then become the favorites of the jailers.
Mhm.
And they did not want to lose the small privileges which they had got.
Okay.
So, and of course, Dr. R.C. Majumdar scolds Lokanath for saying this, but he does. So, all these things have just been wiped out, just been scrubbed away, and people don't look at them. That's why I have listed them in the book.
Right. There's another aspect, about which you have pointed out in the book, and it's also quite forcefully put out. There is this entire, belief which is mounted by the people who advocate the ideology or the idea of Hindutva, is that the cow is a mother figure. That is that entire thing. Now, Savarkar, who is their icon, had completely contrarian views about the cow, the place of cow in the what it should be in the minds of people, and also about beef eating. What were they? What did you find out? And how have you detailed it in the
Ah,
book?
yes. With your permission, Nilanjan, I just want to point out one other thing. You see, it is not just mercy petitions that we should focus on,
Yes.
because after he comes back, there is a whole correspondence with the viceroy, in which, to use the viceroy's terms, he begs, not my word, it is Lindisco's
Okay.
words. Savarkar came to see me, then he
That is
begged
in
this, then he begged
1939,
this.
towards the 1930s,
Yes,
late 1930s. After his,
up,
release from Ratnagiri, he's free to travel anywhere and also enter public
yes, he's
life.
now become the president, and he's the head of the Hindu Mahasabha,
Yes.
and he's offering assistance in every way to the British. And he
Despite
denounces Gandhi, he denounces the Quit India movement. He says, no, no, we don't want complete independence. No, no, dominion status. Okay, dominion status whenever. Okay, after the war. Okay, in 1 year after the war. Okay, you can say that you will consider it within 1 year after the war. He goes on
right,
diluting. And also, this is the icon they want as the great freedom fighter. And he's abusing Gandhiji, that he's a walking plague. And
Mhm.
you should just see what he said about quit India. And these people, it's not just what they will shirk at the cow business, they will shirk at when I've listed what Savarkar said about the other person they are trying to appropriate, Dr. Ambedkar.
Right.
Just see what he called Ambedkar.
What does he say about
Such
Ambedkar?
great friends. Absolute bunk. But that's in the book. You will see that he's a Hindu hater. He's lying. He is fabricating things. His criticisms are completely invalid. All sorts of things. If you want, I'll just look up the index and read them out to your listeners. But to go back to your thing about cows, that is something on which, you see, in regard to our beliefs and in regard to the rituals which we as Hindus follow, like
Hmm.
Kumbh Mela, like
Right. Which is
worshipping
good.
Navagraha, the nine planets. He was a rationalist, and
Okay.
he used his stay in Ratnagiri very productively to fight against these beliefs. So, for instance, about the cow, he certainly says that cow worship is cow. Please look after the cow. Don't worship
Hmm.
it. Otherwise, you will become like the cow. If you want to
Okay.
worship, you want to have an icon, an emblem, have Narsimha.
Hmm.
Then you will be like Narsimha. This way,
Okay.
you will be like the cow. Anybody can cut it. Anybody can eat it. Anybody can. And look at this cow. You drink its urine. You drink its excreta. You imbibe its excreta, thinking it has medicinal values. But this cow goes on munching, and then she just sits down. She urinates there. She sits on the urine. She passes dung there. But is the cow that you worship? So he
Okay.
is, in that sense, a rationalist in regard to, um, you know, praying to the stars, to the sun or moon. He would say that, look here, these are inert bodies. They don't ever think what is in your mind.
Right.
And they are going to go on their orbits, go rotating and having revolutions in their orbits, irrespective of whether you pray to them or not pray to them. So
Okay.
he's trying to educate us out of these beliefs and practices and saying, be self reliant, do something for the untouchables, get rid of this damned caste system. In that, I admire his work greatly.
Okay. You mentioned, what he said about Gandhi and also Ambedkar, but let's talk about, Gandhi. Uh, he was accused in the Gandhi assassination case, and among various things which Savarkar has said in his life is that he
Yes,
called
he was one of the.
Gandhi his friend, a great friend, and a very good relationship. He also makes mention of a very specific year, 1908, when Gandhi is apparently in London, where he says that we met. The fact which you also write in your book is that Gandhi was not there in London in 1908. Can you tell me as to what kind of attitude, what he thought of Gandhi, at, as far as in his life, and what he actually made the statements, the contradictions between these?
Actually, this is a this is a statement, a written statement on oath
Yes,
in the trial of the
during the trial.
assassination of Gandhi. He said, no, no, no. But you see, we lived together as friends in London in 1908. Firstly,
That's
Gandhiji was not there in 1908. He said we lived together in India House, which was a house made for accommodating about 25 students from India. Savarkar used to
right.
be there. Now, the fact of the matter is, in 1908, Gandhiji was not there at all. This
Okay.
house was constructed in 1905. Gandhiji came in 1906, and we know from Gandhiji's own writings, because he would write, one letter, 5,000 letters in 6 weeks. He has written. That's Rajmohan Gandhi's count. Now, Gandhiji says in the first letter, he's reporting to the people who have sent him from South Africa to plead their case with the British
Right.
politicians. And he writes to them that we spent one night, this Haji Ali and I spent one night in India
India.
House, but you see, this is very far away, so we have moved to Hotel Cecil at great cost.
That's right.
One night, no living together. Not 1908, 1906. He stays there. He goes back. He meets these students. He's very upset with their views, and he writes that he tells them, and he writes in Young India in Hind Swaraj, a whole section devoted to answering these characters and saying that if you obtain, um, if we obtain freedom for India by murders,
Hmm.
then murderers will rule India. He's
Right.
very upset with it. Now, in 1907, he does not come back to London. In 1908, he does not come back to London. In 1909, he comes, but 10 days before he comes, one of Savarkar's understudies, inspired by him, has killed.
Madan Lal Dhingra, you are
It's
referring
said
to.
to be, but yes, Madanlal Dhingra kills a man called Curzon Wiley, who was the ADC to the Secretary of State for India, Lord Morley. Now, that is a terrible murder. It shakes up London. And Gandhiji is very upset, partly because this Curzon Wiley had been introduced to him in 1906. But
Okay.
more than that, he says, you called him as a guest at your function, and there you shot him point blank. So this is dishonorable. Moreover, Gandhiji's whole mission of pleading the case of Indians in London is now complicated because an Indian has killed Cousin Wiley. So
Okay.
he's very upset, and there is no question of it going near this India House. And in fact, in that pseudonymous book, The Life of Savarkar, Barrister Savarkar, supposed to have been written by a man called Chitragupt, which the publisher from Savarkar Southern says was Savarkar himself.
Yes, it
In
was
that they
actually Bose.
say that after this murder, this the after this murder, the that street and India House became a focus for this Scotland Yard because Dhingra was from the circle.
Right.
Now, in those circumstances, would Gandhi go and live there? So there is no way in which he did. And secondly, this whole business of being a friend of Gandhi and Gandhi doing this, that, and that. Gandhiji is a friend to everybody.
Hmm.
Gandhiji writes to Hitler also, my dear friend. So what happened is
You know,
you have to see not Gandhi's attitude, you have to see Savarkar's attitude to Gandhi. He calls Gandhiji a walking plague. He says he's a madman. He gets fits of unreason.
you,
Or us,
you,
us
you
mirgi mein,
use,
in that fit. Pardon?
yeah, I said that you give a list of, various names, the name calling he does to Gandhi,
Right.
Pagal hai, all kinds of names he gave to Gandhi.
Yes. Pagal, and he said he gets he gets these fits, and in those fits he says anything. जो मन में आता है बकवास कर देता है. That is what he
Right.
says. And I've given those that things. Now, if you want, let us please just take 1 second and
Yeah,
about
please.
Ambedkar. You were
Yes,
asking me, so I've just
certainly.
looked up the index, and you'll find it on pages on several places. Um, he says of Hindu that this man is a Hindu hater. He is burning
Right.
with hatred for Hinduism. He's he putting out extravagant and vulgar remarks on Hindu history. He is berating Hindu Dharma with falsehoods and in filthy language that he is taking his followers into this maze of wrong, unjust, untruthful, and Hindu hatred of his. He is misleading them into by the fraud of conversion. He's जानी बूझी गप्पों या चतुराइयों के बातें कर कर he's leading them into perdition. ये गाली गलोच, fear, all sorts of things. That his secret plan is to make an independent place in what is today Jharkhand and an independent republic in alliance
That's
with
right.
the Christians. Ambedkar. So, but these people will say, oh, they were great friends with Gandhi.
Certainly, he was no great friend with either Gandhi or with Ambedkar. Let me ask you something more, slightly something more serious. Savarkar was accused in the of being involved or rather having conspired in the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. Uh, Nathuram Godse was said to be his disciple. Savarkar was acquitted by the court, but more than a decade after that, a decade and a half after that, the judicial commission was appointed by the government, the Kapoor Commission, which submitted its report in the late 1960s, which said certain things, caste allusions. By the time Savarkar is dead, but it does cast, that there is no other way that he would not have known what is happening. That is the kind of thing that he alludes to. Now, based on your extensive research, and given the fact that Savarkar had inspired Madanlal Dhingra into assassinating a British official, to what extent do you think that Savarkar could have inspired Nathuram Godse to do what he did, that is to kill Mahatma Gandhi?
See, first you must see that Savarkar was all for assassinations. I've
Right.
quoted those instances in his book, the Six Glorious Epochs of Indian History. He is
That's right.
among the many things he admires are the assassinations of people whom, in his view, were not standing up to foreigners. He says this is to be done simply as a national duty. That is how it was done, he says. But the other point is, even as a young man, he felt that no, we cannot have a full scale revolution in India because the British have a violent revolution, because the British have disarmed us as a people after 1857. And secondly, that we do not have that military skill today. So,
Hmm.
but by assassinating individual officers, we can certainly frighten these people away. So his view about assassinations is well thought out. Second is
Mhm.
that it's not just a loose thing to say that Godse was his disciple. Godse was his worshipper, and was as was Apte, the two who were actually then
That's
hanged.
right.
And uh, I'm to give you one instance, two things in Kapoor Commission. Kapoor says that Savarkar goes to Pune for a meeting of the workers, and he
Mhm.
says he's now the head of, he's still the head of the Hindu Mahasabha. He says no,
Right.
but certain things have to be done, which we cannot let the Hindu Mahasabha also know. So
Hmm.
we need a secret organization to do secret things, of which Savarkar shall be the leader, not just the leader, controller. The word that uh, Justice Kapoor has used is the Führer.
Right.
The word,
The title
Hitler's
of it.
word, Hitler, yes, that he shall be the Führer, and everybody shall obey him implicitly and to the
Right.
end. All its work will be secret. And who are the two other office bearers there?
Godse
Godse.
enough.
Yeah, Apte. Then the second connection that is, which he
And this
says, it
organization,
is,
are you referring to the Hindu Rashtra?
yes, Hindu National, exactly.
Okay.
And Justice Kapoor says that the assassins all came from this Hindu Rashtra Dal. which was completely under the control of Savarkar. And Sardar Patel also says that the assassination has been carried out by a small group of Savarkarites
Okay.
in his letter to Panditji.
Okay.
Now, the other point is that it is not just that, Nilanjan, if I am your bhakt and you indoctrinate me with certain ideas,
Hmm.
then in the end, you don't have to tell me, oh, now go and succeed and come back and I bless you. You don't have to
Right.
say that, which is what the approver says. That these people said in the taxi that Savarkar has said. But I will do it automatically because I have been brainwashed by that time. And it is in that context that Justice Jivanlal Kapoor gives many extracts from the magazine, from the publication Agrani,
This is
which
the one which was
Savarkar
edited by and published by Godse and Apte and financially
Apte,
supported by Savarkar, right?
yes, by Savarkar. And the editors of the collected works of Savarkar, they are also his bhakts. They say that Savarkar used to guide this issue to issue, from issue to issue.
Okay.
It was, and that you can see the poison that they are saying, that they are spewing out against Gandhiji, against Panditji, even against Sardar Patel.
Hmm.
So there is no difficulty in the inspiration, the instigation that came. But you see, in those days, and there was this statement of the approver also,
Right.
that yes, these two, when they came back, see, the day they are to leave for Delhi to assassinate Gandhiji, they go
Hmm.
and meet Savarkar in Savarkar Southern. Only the two
Right.
of them are allowed to go up. But when they come down, they are very happy and exultant because they say Savarkar has blessed us. Now we will surely succeed. And the approver says, who was the third person in the taxi, he said,
Hmm.
told the court that they said, now we will surely succeed because Savarkar has blessed us.
Bless us.
Saying, succeed and come back.
Right.
Now, in the court, they did not, you see, in those days, law used to be followed literally. So
Okay.
the law relating to an approval statement is that it must be corroborated by other direct evidence.
Okay.
That is why this was not given the weight that it would be given today. And at that time, the Savarkar was let off. Now, in
Okay.
these circumstances, to make a hero of him shows a deliberate design, shows that the confidence that others are ignorant. So, the fact of the matter is that it is to snatch heroes. Secondly, to find a link yourself with the independence movement of which you were not a part. And third is the project to erase Gandhiji.
Okay.
Anybody who spits at Gandhiji is a hero today.
Okay.
And that is the tragedy. We should see it, and we should see the consequences that will follow when a temple is set up to Godse, when people like Savarkar are lauded.
You also refer to the various claims made by Savarkar about what he told Subhash Bose. That he is the one who advised Subhash Bose to run away from India and fight the British and get independence for India. That it was at his prompting, at his inspiration, that Subhash Bose acted. What are your findings?
But actually, he says this in three lectures in Pune when he's winding up his organization called Abhinav Bharat. The fact of the
Right,
matter is that uh, he says that Subhash Chandra Bose came to see him, and and they had a long meeting, and in that he told him, "Why are you wasting your time in small agitations like removing that Howell monument in Calcutta?
right,
Don't do that. You escape from here and go to Germany, go to Japan, make an army of the of the prisoners of war which Germany and Japan have, and come back to India, invade. And by the time you invade, I would have I would have put Hindus of my inspiration into the Indian army, and they will
Right.
refuse to fight. They will refuse to fire on your soldiers, and they will turn the guns on the British officers. And in the meantime, the people of India, I would have roused, and they will rise in rebellion. So actually,
Mhm.
nothing like this happens. Netaji has actually described that meeting in 4 lines. Because you see,
Mhm.
Netaji, as you remember, has been became the president of the Congress Party,
Right.
fighting against
Gandhi.
Gandhiji.
Yeah.
Yes, and Gandhiji said this is a personal defeat for me, though he loved Netaji as his son.
He
And
backed Pattavi Sitaramaiah.
yes, Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, and then um, Netaji was actually, in a sense, removed, pushed
Hmm. Push
out of the
out
presidenship
of the top.
by the 12 members of the working committee resigning. I'm sure on Gandhiji's encouragement. But Subhash Chandra Bose then continues to work for Hindu-Muslim unity so that a joint, campaign against the British. So he meets Gandhiji, he meets Panditji, he meets Sardar Patel, he meets Jinnah,
Right.
and then he meets Savarkar. How to bring about this unity for a common front against the British. And in his book called The Indian Struggle,
Hmm.
Netaji describes this meeting in 4 lines.
Mhm.
He says Jinnah was only interested in his project of Pakistan, not willing to cooperate, and Savarkar was only preoccupied with getting some things for his own people. So there is nothing. So I was forced to conclude that there is nothing to be gained by by associating. By nothing can be expected
Right.
from the Muslim League or the Hindu Mahasabha under these people. And
Right.
he is then his idea of escaping is entirely his own. He's been interested in military affairs since he is in the university.
Right.
He goes to Germany, and the Hitler whom Savarkar thanks that Hitler worked for the independence of India and is one of the only 2 persons who helped Indian freedom fighters. Nobody knows whom he helped. But anyhow, this is what it's the claim of Savarkar. Actually speaking, when Netaji reaches Berlin
Uh,
after Moscow does not give him any
yes, he
lift,
doesn't get any help from there.
so he reaches Germany. Hitler keeps him waiting for 1 full year before he gives him even an appointment. Because Hitler actually had a very poor opinion of the fighting abilities of Indians, and in Mein Kampf, in his own book, he has derided all these revolutionaries and so on. He makes absolute mincemeat of them. These Indian
Let me just
revolutionaries were
ask you at this point. I can't resist that he derided all the Indians, but what did Savarkar think of Hitler, and what
he,
was his view about the Jews? I am aware that he said that the Muslims should meet the same fate what the Jews have met in Germany.
no, not exactly in those words, but he says
Yes.
that Hitler is, we should not say anything against Hitler or against Japan, because see what great progress he has brought about. And this is
Mhm.
in 1939, just before the war starts.
Right.
He is praising Hitler, the German progress, and he has turned it around. And the conquest of Sudetenland and the conquest of Czechoslovakia, all that he praises. Japan's
Mhm.
conquest and incursions into China. He said, no, if Japan had not done it, somebody else would have done it. See how powerful they are. And he does certainly feel that the way minorities should be treated is the way Jews are being treated. And by that time, a lot of what was happening to the Jews was common knowledge.
Mhm.
It was being celebrated in Germany as the achievements of the Nazi government.
Okay.
So, but to get back to
Hmm.
Netaji then meets Hitler, and Hitler puts him in a submarine and sends him to Japan.
Okay.
INA has already been set up in Germany. There was an Indian, I've given the name there, Legion, Free India Legion had been set up out of POWs that had
Hmm.
been set up by the Germans, not by
Okay.
Netaji.
Thought by Netaji.
And and Hitler thought of it, and the word he used for that was a joke.
Mhm.
He had a very poor opinion of the fighting abilities of this group, and he did not give them big arms. He gave them a few vehicles, and he gave them 700 horses to be, to fight the tanks and to fight the aircraft. 700 horses. That's all.
Hmm.
And he sends Netaji to Japan. But he tells the Japanese, you should not focus on India. You should focus on New Zealand.
Mhm.
And then INA, the steps for organizing the INA through POWs who are in the hands of the Germans, in the Japanese, have already been started 2 years before Netaji reaches Japan. But
Okay.
it is very good that it is when Netaji goes there, he is the one who then enthuses them and gives them the passion to come in. And when they advance into India, into Burma, along with the Japanese troops, this is what Srinath Raghavan, one of our great military historians, has documented. No persons from the British Indian Army go and desert and join the INA. On the contrary, they deal with the INA with the same severity with which they deal with the Japanese forces. And no great rising comes up in India to support the INA at that time. So nothing that this great strategist thought of has come
But
into
among the
being.
people who did not rise in protest was also the Hindu Mahasabha. They did not rise in protest at the way the British were treating the Indian National Army.
Not at all. Actually, that's a very important point because you see the Hindu Mahasabha by this time is now completely in bed with the British
Right. And this
because
is
the
the Hindu
Congress
Mahasabha led
ministries
by
with
Savarkar.
Savarkar, yes, in 1939 November, the Congress ministries resigned from the provinces
That
in
is
which they
right.
hold the ministry. It was one of the decisions which was, in retrospect, wrong because it cleared the way for
Yeah, that's
Jinnah.
a different thing. But
Anyhow, they
yeah.
they resign. Now Savarkar sees the great opportunity. He has been wiped out in the 1937 elections, 3 seats out of 1480 seats,
That's right.
only 3 seats. But he wants to get into the government. So he's now in touch with all the time, writing letters and meeting the viceroy that please take my men in. They will be better than the congressmen. And he gets his own Hindu Mahasabha people to join the ministries led by the Muslim League in Sindh
That's
and
that's in
Bengal.
Bengal. That's in Bengal.
Yes,
And
Bengal.
Shama Prasad
And
Mukherjee, the person who eventually founded the Jansan, he was the
yes,
founder president. He is the
and who also
personality.
succeed who also succeeds Savarkar as the head of the Hindu Mahasabha.
That's right.
And then also in Sindh. Sindh is the legislature, the ministry which passes the first resolution for Pakistan.
Okay.
And the person who headed the Ministry of Bengal, into which Savarkar puts his men as subordinates, was Fazlul Haq, who moved the Pakistan resolution in Lahore,
That's right.
and about
That-
whom Savarkar used to write again and again to the viceroy that look here, this man is himself saying, "मैं हिंदुओं को सताऊंगा. Why don't you take action against him?" And he puts his people under him. Anyhow, in 1939, you are absolutely right. Hindu Mahasabha is campaigning all over. Savarkar is personally has gone on a whole chakkar
Hmm.
to encourage people to join the British Army. So far from fighting the British and helping the Indian National Army, he is actually completely helping the British. And yet,
Okay.
pata nahi, in India, all this nonsense is going on. What you
Uh,
mentioned about the
Mr. Shourie, let me move to the concluding part of our discussion. In your fairly exhaustive book, you do paint a picture of a Savarkar, who thought differently, wrote differently. What he wrote is misrepresented by the leaders of today, by the Hindutva leaders of today. Now, looking at the way in which Savarkar has been eulogized by this political regime in India now, you do write about the fact that they are trying to build a Hindu state, but you say that this is actually not going to be a Hindu state, but essentially going to be the exact word is that is that you use the phrase Islamic State in saffron. I
yes.
would like to hear from you. Why do you say that these people are moving in the same direction? They're trying to take India, that is Bharat, to make the a Hindu Pakistan.
See, actually, that's a very important. So it's a central point to focus on, Nilanjan, because that's about our future.
That's right.
In his books, and especially in the last book he wrote, this is the six glorious epochs of Indian history. He praises certain things. He's now in his 80s.
Right.
He is not very well. This is his legacy that he's leaving for India. What are the
Okay.
values he wants us to imbibe? That
Mhm.
is what this book is about. So if you study those values, he wants super cruelty, super vengefulness. He says hatred. Hatred unites. He wants us to feel that we are separate from the others, because if you feel that you are like anybody else, like the others, you will be less motivated to kill and subdue the other person.
Right.
So no tolerance, super um, cunning, super cruelty, super revenge, all these phrases are there, and he lauds the few times when the Hindus may have adopted uh, this kind, may have been cruel to the others, and he scolds the Hindus all the time for being tolerant.
Okay.
For instance, he says they raped Hindu women. The Muslim armies raped. But when you got the opportunity, you didn't do it. After you defeated the Maratha forces, defeat Tipu Sultan's forces, you should have raped them. He's called Shivaji, that he uh, returned the daughter or the wife of uh, one of the Portuguese governors or somebody unmolested. So he those are the values that he wants us to live,
Okay.
and those will certainly make us a terrible state of fighting each other, of killing each other. And secondly, this whole point about, you see, his description of who's this Hindutva. He keeps saying it is very different from Hinduism.
Right.
That's merely a religion. Now, Ambedkar was the first person to point out that the way he has crafted his uh, uh, his criteria for Hindutva is to exclude. So,
Right.
does Nilanjan believe in the same gods? Is his holy land this very land? Is his places for pilgrimage here? Does he revere the same heroes as I do? All those tests you must
That's right.
pass.
Savarkar
And
says that Indians are those who have their punya bhumi in this land, in this nation.
not only yes, not only Punya Bhumi, but also the whole, yes, Holy Land and Fatherland. So
Fatherland,
all
Pitra
this is
bhumi.
to exclude Christians, Muslims, Jews,
That's
everybody.
right.
And to these people, to the others, I must always look upon them as others. And that
Yes.
means that somebody else gets the authority to say whether I am a Hindu or not, I am an Indian or not. This is the search for purity which has ruined, let's say, Pakistan. First,
Okay.
Ahmadiyas are not Muslims, then Shias are not Muslims, then Ahle Hadith and the other fellows start fighting, the Deobandis start fighting, then the Barelvis start fighting, then each of those sects arms itself to stand up to the other sect. Those become terrorist organizations. Then wings of the state think that we can control all of these people. When the wings of the state become parts of that apparatus of terrorism, and you see where Pakistan is today. And
Well,
secondly,
you,
what are the,
hmm,
so what are the issues with which Pakistan has got preoccupied? Those are the issues with which we will get preoccupied. So in every way, it will be, we will become a Pakistan or an Islamic state as conceived
Islamic
by
State of
Savarkar in Saffron.
Well, you paint a fairly gloomy picture of what lies ahead, but that will actually come true only if Savarkar continues to be an icon. And I will congratulate
And
you once more for this book. And I'll just complete that. I'll, hope that your book enables India to understand Savarkar in his, what is the truth about Savarkar, as you say, Savarkar and the facts. So here onward, we'll hope people will read this book and be guided by facts and not by the make believe which has been projected for all these years by the Sangh Parivar and the others who support the Hindu majoritarian politics. Well, thank you, Mr. Shourie, for coming and joining us on this program. It's really been wonderful to speak with you on a book which definitely looks a lot of labor has really gone into it. Well, thank you very
thank
much.
you very much. Thank you very much.